Welcome back to the Blindsiders. I am Ben here with Dylan and Brian to talk about episode 9 of Survivor 49. And we have by the end of the episode, Alex being the person eliminated from the episode, from the tribal council there. And despite the fact that it seemed like we heard about these advantages that this trio has over and over again throughout both last episode and at this episode, we have yet to see one of them actually get played. It keeps on just being dangled above us like this, sword of Damocles. We're just waiting for something to happen with these things. Based on the preview, it looks like maybe at the very least the Knowledge of Power is getting played next week, based on jury reaction from that preview. But I expected them to maybe play at least the extra vote this week, but I know they didn't need it. They flipped 3 people to their side.
Yeah, I think you're starting to see why they did not promote this season that much. I think that there's a lot of not good gameplay. I think kudos to Rizzo. I think he has shown real brass balls the past 3 weeks, because I'm playing the idol last week, and then I'm playing the idol this week. I think that there is a lot of really, really bad gameplay and decision making going on from these other players at the moment, and I think really, really impressive kind of holdout from Savannah, Rizzo, and Soph. I think the fact that we're now heading into I guess 2-3 tribals now where they have all these advantages, they're not going to play them. So that's impressive, and it makes you kind of start to see how the rest of this season shapes up, where this self-opposed bottom 3, which they're calling themselves, even though clearly I don't think that this tribe, the rest of the people, really have a grasp of what's going on. They're obviously the 3 on top if you step back and look at it as a whole. So I can see why Rizzo and Savannah are the ones that are in 50 and not anybody else in the season.
Yeah, I think it's really emblematic of just where Survivor is now, where instead of focusing on where did Sophie and Alex go wrong, weren't the tight duo, let's talk about the advantages that don't end up getting used at all. It's all right, I guess we can do that, but would love to have more of the character stuff and more of the reasoning behind these moves. Now it's just Soph is yes, I'm with Savannah and Rizzo, ride or die forever. It's all right, seems a little extreme to be that much in on them, but good for her, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I think it makes sense to a degree, right? Alex did blindside her in the Nate vote. They didn't vote the last tribal council, so that's the last kind of strategic point that they've had together. But I think for me, I kind of am sort of on the same page as Dylan, for where it just kind of feels like Rizzo is the best player of the season by a lot at this point, and everyone else just kind of leagues behind. I don't really know kind of where we're going other than just towards a Rizzo win, because it feels like he's gotten his way 2 votes in a row while he's supposedly been in the minority. Everyone wants to flush his idol, but nobody is doing it. He held the idol both times. He's now in the final 8 with an idol, with an ally with an extra vote, with an ally with a knowledge of power advantage, even though he doesn't know about that advantage specifically. His number 1 ally seems to be pretty universally loathed and probably can't win a jury vote. So who's going to be the one collecting the jury vote at the end of this? It's going to be him. If unless he gets unless he loses that fight, right? That's the only kind of position that I see him going out in. He's either the fighter, loser, or he wins the season, in my opinion. At this point, he's just that much leagues ahead of everyone else.
I think you've swayed me over to the side that I think as of right now, Rizzo is the winner of the season, and I think that the tribe layout we've seen for 50 is not a winner 3 split. I think there's going to be some sort of other rationale to that tribe split. Because I agree, I don't see a scenario right now where Rizzo and Savannah are both in the end, and they decide to go with Savannah after this whole narrative build up that they really don't like Savannah. I think Christina said it this week that Savannah gives off mean girl energy. I don't know. I don't know if it will come down to they viewed Rizzo hiding behind Savannah. I don't really know, but I agree. I've like talked myself into. I think Rizzo won this season. I think that's like narratively what it's built up to, or there is some sort of cutthroat kind of separation between Savannah and Rizzo at the end, where Savannah cuts Rizzo off because she knows that he's like really the only other one that has a chance to beat her. I think that would be really fulfilling and interesting too, in the sense that like we kind of do get a true villain, and it's not in the sense of like Maria and Charlie, where like Maria was just being spiteful and not voting for Charlie. Where I think that like that would be a good move for Savannah and be understandable why she wins at that point. I don't know, but I think Rizzo is definitely the player of this season so far, and it's just it's more so. I think everybody's playing really bad, and he is just very capable as a player. Than that, he's like doing it in an incredibly flashy way. But holding on to this idol for three of these votes is crazy, and it's crazy that nobody is like. It's all talk. It's all talk going after him. I think like Juwan's a spineless player. Honestly, I think that he has like he's more interesting to watch than Mitch, but he's basically doing the same thing as Mitch at this point, where he has no initiative to go for it. The only person that's outside of that three, and Sophie is kind of like pushing herself into being like that fourth, or like a bounty for that fourth, is I think I still think that Sage is I like where her head's at. I just know I feel like she's self-aware enough to know that she doesn't have the ability to try to completely drive some of these votes, and that she's kind of more so relying on her connections to be able to help drive it. And I think that's probably her undoing, because she's been vocal. She wants the right vote out each time, and she like the rest of these people are so dumb she can't really wrangle them. That's not her strength to do it. And so I've obviously done a complete 180 on Sage, because I hated her before, but I do think that she's the last one outside of the three of what we just talked about that is like a capable player in the season. But she's kind of surrounded by idiots that don't really help her out.
Yeah, I think it's hard. Obviously, Juwan and Sage, they don't know what we know. They know that Rizzo has the idol, but they don't realize that the runway to make like a move against these three is shrinking way faster than they think it is, because of the extra vote and the knowledge is power advantage. Like they're kind of looking at it, I think, like we don't have to do a move against them right now, but really the did have to probably do it this round.
Mhm.
Now it's almost like they have, no out now,
Yeah, this conversation that happens at Tribal is also kind of interesting, where they talk about like the pros and cons of flushing an idol that where it is, because like it almost feels like very similar to The Traders, which is another show that we cover, where like there is kind of like a mixed incentive for when you find a traitor on that show, where like, yeah, the premise of the show in theory is you should vote out the traitors, find the traitors and banish them. But mechanically, the way the game works is like if you find and banish a traitor, most of the time they're just going to recruit a new traitor. And now you have zero read on who that new traitor is going to be. So it's almost better to find a traitor and then deliberately not vote them out immediately, and then just like wait it out until like the last second. And it's kind of similar with the idol, where like if you know where the idol is, that's like, as Sophie mentions, like kind of a devil versus the devil you don't. It's almost like a controllable variable, like something that you have knowledge of. Whereas if you flush the idol either by voting that person out or getting them to play it, now there's going to be an idol re-hidden, and like, yeah, you could find it theoretically, but like more likely somebody else is going to find it, and then you're not going to know where it is, and then there's like going to be some unknown variable introduced into the game that you're going to have to now worry about and play around. Whereas if you just like let Rizzo stay in the game and maybe try to work with him, now you have an ally with an idol, as opposed to like getting him out, and now you have somebody potentially in the game that you don't want to have the idol happen. So it is an interesting kind of way that both Rizzo has played it and the other players have kind of reacted to him playing it that way.
We always say that, like, how powerful is an idol if, like, everybody knows it's there. This is one of those scenarios where it has become, like, incredibly powerful because people think that just because they know it's there, it is not as scary as it really is, clearly. Because it's like each week that it goes by, it's like, and there's so many different ways that he can play it now at this point too. Like, the further we get into the game, it's just like I agree with you, Brian. I feel like if there was a week to go to really get them out, this was it. I think that we are too far gone at this point to really. Maybe you'll get one of those three gone before the season's over, but I find it really hard to believe that Soph, Rizzo, or Savannah are not going to be at least two of the final three in this game. It wouldn't make sense at this point for me for that not to be the case.
Yeah. It feels like everyone just like is reserved to Rizzo being in the final four, and they're all like, yeah, I think we're fine with that at this point. Like we'll just like get one of the other seats, you know?
Yeah, which, you know, good for him that he's found his way into this position to where people want him there. It'll be interesting to see if he can, you know, pull this out. Like you said, Ben, you think that he's the odds-on favorite right now, and I don't know how everyone else is feeling. I don't know if they're long-term thinking it in the same way, but, you know, it'll be interesting nonetheless. I think that it's very funny that Alex was playing like a very good game until it all came crashing down, just because, like, you know, he had a weird path, right, with the disaster tribe and then being safe post swap, and now he never really found his footing, I guess, after that disaster tribe where he was like firmly in the 2 with Sophie, but then was kind of listless after the swap and into here, you know.
Yeah, I think the issue with Alex is, so if you look at Soph, right, she pretty like firmly plants her flag with Savannah and Rizzo and, you know, Nate before Nate gets voted out, and like locks herself in with that group. Whereas Alex, I think, very carefully tried to keep a lot of his options open and not really like solidify himself into a formalized alliance with the Hinas. And you kind of see it play out in this episode a little bit. Like they kind of didn't show it all because I think they wanted to keep the vote a little bit hidden, and, you know, make it a little bit more of a, you know, a surprise as to whether or not he was going to get voted out, even though I thought it was obvious. But he kind of thinks that he's in the position that Juwan and Sage are actually in, where like they have the relationship with Steven from the second swap. And they also are playing this kind of middle position where they're flipping back and forth between the Savannah and Rizzo and the Hinas. And that's the position that Alex thinks he's in, where he's like, oh, I have a connection to Soph. I have, you know, potential to flip and work with her if I wanted to, but I've also been with these Hinas. But he's not solidly with either, whereas Juwan and Sage are solidly with both, at least through this vote. So I think it's just him kind of over. He has an overestimation of his own position, and therefore he kind of overplays a position that he doesn't actually have. And this is kind of a fault that shows itself. Rizzo notices it, and I think smartly takes advantage of it.
Yeah, I think I am more impressed each round with Rizzo, not just because of the not playing the idol, but like he's playing good. He's playing well, and from being on the bottom after the merge vote to now in this, you know, somewhat seemingly crushing position, you know, just want to make sure we give him his kudos, you know.
Yeah, I think an underrated thing that Rizzo is doing too is target selection. We talked about this a little bit last week with him really pushing the MC vote, and I think that like it continues here with the Alex target. I think both were the correct person for him individually to target, and I think his rationale in both cases was correct. So I think he has a very good kind of he has arguably one of the most accurate, I think, macro views of like the kind of structure of the game, and like picking exactly which piece to pull off the board in which order in order to like maintain the structure that's most favorable to him. And I think it's very impressive. I think it's a very underrated skill in Survivor or any of these games, is like deciding the correct target for yourself.
That's right. I think after the bad start to the season, and it will like kind of feed into the discussion we'll have later in the episode, but I do think that this season is really turning into something that is positive to watch for the new era. And I think for that specific reason too, if we are watching Soap, Savannah, and Rizzo kind of just completely dominate everyone, it would be a nice change of pace from at least the narrative setting of previous seasons of kind of really had that constant kind of turnstile of like who's on top, who's not when we get to post merge. Last year was kind of really between like three people towards the end, but this one it who are obviously on separate sides. I think seeing three people stick together for this long, completely dominate, kind of like Savannah forming like what is going to be like the new era version of a villain, which is basically just being slightly cocky and like confident in herself, whereas she would be a hero in like any other like like a region of Survivor.
The trash talk and the challenge of I got this, I'm not going to drop, with very real intense trash talk we got.
It's so funny too of people online being like, oh, Savannah, she's so cocky, like she sucks. It's like this is such a G version of the villain I want on Survivor. This is like I think, like I said, I think Savannah would be like a hero on the heroes versus villains tribes and any other era of Survivor. So I think I'm like. It's only natural to root for them at this point, at least for me. I'm like, I want, and I thought I think that the whole Sophie and Savannah kind of like rivalry thing that we have going on for challenges is really fun too. I hope that keeps up. And I think that like
both very impressive competitors.
I think seeing Sophie be able to beat her and like that story would be kind of nice. I like this turnaround for Sophie a lot. I think that she is like not in the greatest of positions overall, but she's in a position to probably take herself a little bit further than most others will be able to at this point. But I do think that like it's kind of like the enemy of my enemy is my friend, and I think that that's sort of what's going on with her and Savannah right now, where I don't think that they really want to work together, but they know it's the most convenient for them. And I think that Sophie and her and Savannah with the challenge 2 weeks in a row now being so close. And it's been interesting to watch. It's not necessarily the most visually appealing thing to see somebody just sit there like with their foot on a disc for that long. But I think the buildup of who will win this is not something I've really felt with an immunity challenge or even like any sort of individual challenge at all with Survivor in the new era that I can think of at least. So that's cool. That there's like some facets of what I love most about Survivor kind of popping its head up this season, which is really nice. Because like I said, I think that this season was a bit of a stinker the first couple episodes, and even maybe if some of the gameplay from people that aren't of the big three is pretty dog shit. It's cool to see. It's cool to see like some of those old school type of things come back to the game.
Yeah, I think this season is kind of giving me like a worse version of Samoa vibes, between like kind of a lackluster pre-merge with a lot of predictable votes, kind of some like really quiet but weird characters that like aren't getting a lot of focus, but like will kind of pop up randomly. Like Steven at the challenge is like, makes his like, space things. And then when he wins immunity, he gives like a weird speech when he's in the necklace. And then at Tribal Council, he has like another weird moment. Like it's like kind of like knockoff Dave Ball-esque, like, and like you have like this kind of FOA 4-esque story with this like this trio who is kind of like scrappy underdogs that are still actually kind of in control of the game vote after vote, and like they're just like consistently getting their way even though like it makes no logical sense.
We gotta ask Steven what his sport is, if it's also making love.
Yeah.
I did enjoy Steven being a little bit more of a, like you said, weirdo, but like a bit more of a character.
Mhm.
I thought that was fun, getting to know him a little more, other than just like the strategy stuff. And obviously, like he's really smart. He's a rocket scientist. Like we knew that, but he just he has tons of space facts, which I can definitely get down to. I would be super eager to hear him, talk about space. What do we think of this challenge? This is a new one, right? This is the first time they've done it. Kind of an iteration on the one from Australian Survivor, but I thought it was good. Like you said, Dylan, not the most like visually tantalizing or titillating challenge, but my abs hurt just watching it.
It's one of those things I foolishly think that I would do well in, that I would not do well in if it was put in the scenario. Look tough.
I very confidently can say I would do not good in this.
Same.
When they first started, I didn't realize that they would have to like lift their hands, and so I could do that. And then as soon as you can't touch your legs or hold yourself up, I would be done.
And the two of them went so long after that too. Like maybe even twice as long without their hands. So it's like so impressive.
That's another big thing about this season too. And I know recent seasons there really hasn't been too much, not a whole lot of like real true like overall like physically challenging people. And I kind of bring it back to what I said last week. This very much feels like a woman driven season. With like Savannah and Sophie. And I think it's like typically, obviously, I don't think I'm being outrageous to say that. I feel like a lot of the times women in challenges kind of don't get overlooked compared to like obviously like the men Goliaths that we've had be challenge beasts before. We've obviously had women too, but it like Steven winning the man's like leg of this challenge was significantly less rewarding than Savannah beating Sophie. And I think that's cool. As somebody with 3 daughters, it's nice. And it's not like a whole like more women should be winning in Survivor type thing. I think it's just like it's nice to see just that change. Like it's nice to see. I do like enjoy my Jonathans being complete monsters when it comes to challenges, but it's cool to see like two people like Savannah and Sophie going at it week by week. I really hope, and I hope we get back to next week too. I hope that's a thing. I hope that like we have consistent like storylines going in this season that's beyond just 1 or 2 people and like what do they do, what are they not going to do, like just I think even just the challenge storyline alone is interesting.
Yeah, I think as long as they keep doing these endurance challenges, those two are going to be battling it out for as long as they're both in it.
Yeah, I mean, we have gotten. I think obviously Rachel ties the record for female immunity wins in 47. But beyond that, like we haven't gotten a ton of like women in the new era.
Lindsay, I think, is like maybe the other one who like immediately pops to mind.
Yeah.
Speaking of Jonathan, Lindsay on that season, she was a beast. Also, really jacked. So
D as well is probably another one that did pretty well, but I think she won 2 or 3. But yeah, I mean, like definitely like having 2 women who are like both like really good at these specific types of challenges.
I know Sophie is like, oh my god, if Savannah weren't on this season, man, I would be dominating. I'd be 3 for 3 right now.
Yep.
I think we rightfully gave Rachel a lot of shit about like she had a lot of things handed, not I say handed to her. She had a lot of things kind of very conveniently kind of go her way in that season, but that challenge run was very impressive and it was very much needed a few times. So it's like not to overlook that, even though I think that other parts of her win are not as satisfying. Yeah, that challenge record is still very impressive.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. I guess like where we see this kind of going now, because like we have this preview. I don't know if you guys have seen the preview. You watched the preview. I know, like
I saw it.
Yeah, it definitely feels like they're trying to set up this episode to be like the crazy episode of the season, where like crazy shit's gonna happen. It feels like, you know, with the Sword of Damocles thing that I mentioned earlier, like we've set up so much these like advantages and the idol and stuff. Like something has to break soon, whether that be, you know, the knowledge is power landing on Christina, or like Rizzo finally playing the idol, or like Savannah playing her extra vote. Like something has to happen here. And I don't know. I feel like we're kind of in a position where it would be pretty difficult for the trio to be kind of dismantled. Like I'm just trying to like logistically imagine it, because it's going to be like, even if the other five are all together, they now don't have the numbers to split on Rizzo and, you know, one of the other two. They you know, at best would have to like throw 5 votes onto Soph and pray, and or something like that. You know, they're heavily incentivized to flip in order to protect their own skin. You know, Soph, you know, could just steal Christina's idol if that leaks. It looked like we're setting up for that to happen via Sage. Now we thought that it might have been Alex that leaks it to her, but we had this scene in this episode where Steven tells Sage and is like, don't tell anyone, don't tell Jawan in particular. So either I would imagine Sage leaks it to Jawan, who leaks it to Soph, or Sage leaks it directly to Soph somehow. But that information feels like it's getting out. So yeah, I think we're just like in a position where like this trio is basically, you know, completely in control of the game at this point.
The only way I see it blowing up, to your question, is that if it's somehow found out that Soph has a knowledge is power advantage, and then they somehow get the idol off of Christina, and so when she asks, Christina doesn't have it, and then somebody else is like, "Oops," type thing, which happened. I forgot who did that. I forgot who it was. That it was Leanna and Xander. That and that that's yep. That's the only other thing I can think from that preview of being that crazy. I agree. Ben, I assume it's being used, and I assume, like, obviously people on the island don't know she has it, right? And she still has not shared it with Savannah, so nobody knows about it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So unless she does something like tells Sophie next week, and Sophie realizes like the power that this trio really has, and she kind of goes back and tells them what's going on, and I don't see it not working out well for them. And I think that will be kind of the real slap in the face to everybody, to realize that it's too late to do what we need to do. Which, like I said, as a viewer, like kind of following along, it's very satisfying for me if that does happen. Because we've had previous seasons where we've been very upset with players who are not doing the right thing, and like even if it's right underneath their nose type situation. Where maybe they obviously don't have the knowledge that we, the viewer, have, but it's still like the pieces are there for them to put it together in the game. I think it's nice for a power trio or duo, or I guess we'll say trio, to kind of continue to build their legacy for this season. In case, I'm very much rooting for Savannah and Rizzo and Soph at this point, in case that's not clear. I very much want them to kind of get all the highs of this season. I'm fine with having a winner completely kind of dominate, like I said. And so that's kind of what I'm rooting for at this point.
Yeah. I mean, my big issue with kind of how the rest of the season is going to play out is like, it feels like they just can't lose from this position. And so like, it doesn't really feel like a ton of like, yeah, flashy things are probably going to happen with some of these, you know, these trinkets, but like at this point, just from like a logistical standpoint with the game, it doesn't really feel like there's a lot of like actual like moving and shaking that can happen. And so I feel like we're kind of just like gonna watch a fireworks show for the next few episodes, and then get to this kind of predictable end game. So I don't know. I don't know whether you have a more positive spin on that, Brian.
No, not really. Like I said, I think this, you know, because they don't know what everybody has like we do, they don't see it but we see it. We know how it's going to go. So I guess, Dylan, you wanted to talk a little bit about the ratings, and we can have that discussion now.
Yeah. So the Sun, who Ben has pointed out, is not the most reputable of news outlets. Was reporting that Survivor is at its all a 25-year. I'm trying to pull up the article. Is at a 25-year low for its ratings. It is averaging 500,000 less viewers per episode than season 48 did last year. Kind of part of the overall season discussion we've been having about what Survivor needs to do to get back to its old ways, why it's not happening. Obviously not the best of news for Survivor, especially when we're heading into what hopefully is one of their more popular seasons in recent memory. I guess maybe not all that surprising. I think for me, obviously, and we double checked the Nielsen ratings on it too to verify that this wasn't just like some 20-year-old who got a blog spot posted on the Sun. Not surprising, I guess, for the most. I think a lot of people I know that were casual Survivor fans kind of dropped off at the beginning of the season when I very much wanted to, but couldn't because I had a podcast. I do think a lot of the average casual fan dropped off. So maybe not necessarily the most surprising, but still very shocking to kind of see put out there on paper.
Yeah, I will say, looking at the numbers for the new era in particular, the 47-48 cycle does have a surprisingly larger amount of viewers on average than even 41 through 46. Even more so than like the difference that you're talking about, like in the like 1.5 to 2 million of a difference. So I think that it's less so like this specific season getting lower viewership and more so that 47-48 cycle getting kind of a strangely larger viewership than the new era on average as a whole has gotten, and then it kind of like has evened out to like a more understandable number this season. I don't know what the reasoning behind why that specific set of seasons got such a huge boost.
I think that's when they started to count like people who watch on demand, like streaming afterwards into the total. I know that happened pretty recently.
Yeah. I think that kind of also would then, translate to like none of these numbers mean anything. Like they're still used in terms of determining like network decisions and like advertising spend and stuff like that, but like I just don't really see the value in them. They're like kind of not accurate statistics in my opinion towards how like media consumption by the average American works these days. Like they made sense 20, 30 years ago, but I don't really think they make sense as metrics anymore.
Yeah, and to be fully fair, Ben, this was your point, and so I don't want to like take your talking point, but obviously it's not like like live TV, reality TV as a whole is obviously down. You look at you say Survivor's at an all-time low for 25 years. I think if you look at all TV, obviously, it's down compared to what it was 25 years ago. I think it's very valid, and I like it probably doesn't spell out necessarily like a doom scenario that like Survivor is tanking this bad, that it's just like they're gonna pack up everything and leave Fiji. I don't think that's happening, but I do think it's still part of like the relevant discussion of like Survivor has gotten very stagnant, and we've had what has felt like a lot of like clones of itself the past few seasons of like the cast they've had, the challenges, the advantages, the tribe swaps. It's all become like very predictable. It's become very like it's formulaic. It's something we've said every week now. We've done this podcast kind of discussing it the past 2, 3, 4 seasons.
I would say since Survivor 44, we've been on Survivor's ass about how this is all becoming too much of the same and blending together. So, no one listens to us and takes our advice, but like, we called this years ago, and now it's finally really, showing up.
Sometimes I do think that like the very loud minority of Survivor fans on Twitter or on anything really is either dramatically in one way or the other. They're either like, this is the best season ever. I love this player who had 10 minutes of screen time on this season. I love this player. This is the best. Like, this is the best move ever. D is the best player ever. Like, I think that there's that side of the people, and there's people on the other side that are like, Survivor sucks. Survivor's woke. Survivor hasn't been good in 15 years. Yeah. Like, I think that probably a good majority of us fall in the middle where we enjoy watching the show, but we're allowed to not like things, and we're also allowed to moderately like other things. So yeah, I like I said, I think that we're like an accurate talking head for I think like the average normal Survivor. I'm not even gonna say like super fan, just like the average normal person that loves Survivor. And I think that those other two spectrums are who are probably the loudest on social media. But I think that like the criticism is still there to be very valid, that like the show can be losing ratings because it has gotten incredibly stagnant. But then probably the more accurate picture of everything is, live TV, reality TV as a whole is obviously nowhere near what it used to be. And I think that both can be true, but I do think that there is still, like I said, a lot of merit to, they need to change these things that a lot of people have been very vocal now that they don't like and they don't want to keep seeing. And obviously 50 will be the real challenge to see if they change anything or not. But remember, they shot 49 and 50 together. So I don't know how risky they wanted to get. Maybe they purposely left 49 as is because they wanted to have 50 be that big bang. But if 50 ends up being a flop, like if 50 ends up being kind of like what people talk about with Winners at War in retrospect, I don't think that that's good at all.
Yeah, I mean, 50 being a flop would be really bad for sure. I do think that it probably doesn't matter. I don't see the show ending anytime soon. Like as long as Jeff is still like on board, at least from a production standpoint, even if he eventually steps down as a host, I think the show will continue running. It's like one of the like, despite how like kind of there's so much gravitas with the show in terms of these big sets and like they're in, a foreign country filming, yada yada. Like compared to the average show, even like the average like slop show, like the Chicago series that we have referenced, the Chicago Medfire and Air, Wind and Earth,
Chicago Mall Cops, whatever. Going on.
Survivor is even still cheaper to produce than like even like the sloppiest of slop scripted show, and it's a mainstay for the network. So I just don't see it going anywhere as long as like as long as the network still has a good relationship with the show and the production team. They have a permanent base in Fiji. Like they basically like they basically like have like a seat in the Fijian government at this point. And I just don't see it going anywhere. Like if Fiji or if season 50 is a flop, that's not good for the show for sure. I don't think it would kill the show.
I have a very hard time believing Survivor is not going to get to season 60, maybe say at this point. I think it's maybe like at that point, though, say 50 is a flop and ratings aren't good. It's like a consensus that it's not a good season. I think then you get in the discussion of, is Survivor likely to make season 75 if you want to get into those like every 25 year kind of anniversaries? Probably not. I think even now discussing a show, 12 years away is very hard to imagine, and kind of this just social climate that we have at this point. But
hey man, when we started covering Survivor during season 25, 26, and here we are. That's the same amount of time, an extra year, because COVID took a year away from it. So it's like, I wouldn't count it out. And I especially think that if CBS gives up on it, someone else will immediately swoop in and be like, we can, revitalize Survivor.
Have
What I
you
mean?
have you seen the shows Netflix green lights? Like they have infinite amount of money, and I also think Survivor at one point was one of their more popular
Right.
reality viewing shows, even shows that were streaming. Like obviously, I think we've talked about it before. Netflix showing got me back into Survivor, got me into Survivor with having Kagi on there when I randomly threw it on. I think Netflix was a integral part of Survivor's like small resurgence in the new era. So I agree. I think Netflix would be one of those people I would expect probably to pick it up. I think it just all comes down to too, if you get into like the business aspect of it too, because Paramount now has a new right is Sky who bought Paramount, right? It was one of whatever it was. I think the new Paramount bosses, they definitely have if they think that Survivor is no longer a viable option for them, they still have those jackpot cards that they can play. I think like Jeff and the producers can. I think the U.S. versus the world could be a big one for them if they want to copy Australia, or if they can kind of have like a world all stars. I think that's something that's very much is still possible. Something that I'm hopeful would happen. They can start bringing back Boston Rob and Parvati every season. I think they have that before we officially lose the show. And to Ben's point too, at this point, it doesn't seem like it's a very expensive show for them to make. They barely do any advertising at all. We're not seeing them, go to interviews at like a halftime of an NFL show to try to promote the show. Like we get those small little snippets when fall comes that the show is coming back, but that's pretty much most of what they're doing for advertising. So
Yeah,
I
the
agree.
Sunday 1:00 football commercials is probably like the biggest driver for them at this point. A few seasons ago when they did like the buffs on landmarks, that was fun. But it was fun because they didn't do stuff like that for a long time.
Think about how many people too that if you mention you still watch Survivor, they're like, "Oh, that's still on," like that type of thing.
Oh, believe
conversation
me,
I have
Ben
once
and
a
I
week.
know. We've been in the trenches with that show still on for years.
So as long as they still have us watching, like which is pretty much the fan base now, I feel like that Survivor is good. But
I'm not gonna stop watching. I mean, like even if I wasn't doing this show, I would still it's just such a part of my DNA.
I agree. But I do think that the 500,000 less viewers is maybe a reflection of more TV, but they have things that they have to fix for sure.
I mean, it's within looking at the numbers right now, just like on the Nielsen site and then Wikipedia right now. The 500,000 sounds like a big number, but it's within the like normal fluctuation season to season that is existing throughout, even just through New Era. It's fluctuating between between 6 and 8.5 or so. Like that's a 2.5 million viewer fluctuation. So if it went from 8 million to 4 million, then I would be like, oh yeah, that's a huge difference, right? If it's going from 8 million to 7.5 million, and we've had season 44 was 6.5 million, it's basically noise. It's completely inconsequential noise in the data.
I think it's also, if you're looking at the prime age group that Nielsen goes after is that 18 to 49 adults. I think they're in the top 20 in two of those major categories. So it's also I don't think any show in these top 20, unless they're an absolute guzzler of money, is really at risk of being canceled these days.
No, they consistently win. They consistently win the Wednesday night slot in the 18 to 49 demo, even if they're second or third in terms of overall viewership. It's just it's I don't know. It's just noise. I think that we can talk about the season being bad or being mediocre, without like, trying to finagle like viewership numbers to mean something more than they do, which in my opinion is very little.
I think too, obviously Survivor is not the same thing as like Grey's Anatomy, for example, but I think Survivor having the second highest linear like live watch next to Dancing with the Stars. Obviously, that's a reflection of reality TV and people wanting to see things happen as it happens. But I think that's still something to say too, is that the majority of their viewers are being pulled in during live TV, which is not the story for pretty much most other shows that are on here. Yeah. And I think, like I said, the other thing too is that like think about how much nonsense and slop and just like brain dead TV we see nowadays that are probably entering like season like 35 of like that started 10 years ago. Like they run 3 seasons, 4 seasons a year. It's I think my initial reaction when I read that article was like, oh, Survivor is fucked, but they're not. I think that the rational Ben has come in and talked me down off the ledge once.
My initial reaction when I saw that article was, oh, it's the Sun. This is like made up garbage.
Yeah, I can't say I really know much about the Sun, so I was like, I don't know, maybe. Like
I knew I had heard the Sun. I didn't recognize the Sun was basically like the National Enquirer equivalent in the UK. So maybe that's a silly boy.
Now I'll know. Now what if I see the Sun? I'll immediately.
Yeah, it's like a tabloid that has a history of just making shit up. Like,
gotta get, and I mean, I'm sure it did get a lot of clicks. Right? It's a very inflammatory. Headline.
Yeah, and then you say, oh, well, the New Era season that's had the highest ratings was 48, which everyone universally agrees was horrible. So, like, there's not really a correlation here between season quality and viewership. So, it's just a silly argument to make.
Yeah. Well, that's all I got. Dylan, anything you want to promote before we get out of here?
No. I kind of think I think we pretty much covered everything that was really to cover in this episode. I think overall it wasn't a bad episode. It just wasn't really kind of as I wasn't as enthralled as I was last week. But like I said, I'm excited for the rest of the season to watch Savannah and Rizzo and Soph and kind of how that plays out. So no, nothing to promote on my end. I've been really enjoying like a few set of video games. Finished Dispatch, was a very good ending, and I've kind of just been dabbling in
hear that.
Some Rivals. I've been playing a little. I haven't played the new Battlefield
nice.
update, but I will be doing that. A new book I've been really looking forward to. Strength of the Few just came out, so I'm enjoying looking to read that for anybody that enjoys fantasy books. That's it for now. Hopefully we'll be podding and streaming more soon, but we'll lay that when we start doing that consistently. Yeah.
Ben, anything you want to promote?
No, I've I'm looking forward to the Trader season 4. I know we've mentioned that a few times. It's coming.
Oh, I'm so looking forward to it. Put out a new commercial this week, and I was like, yes.
Yeah. And so like even if like the rest of the season is kind of a snooze fest or is like kind of like predictable, like stomp into a predictable ending, we can at least look forward to that, and hopefully that'll be fun, and hopefully 50 will be fun. And hopefully, we've been here, Brian and I in particular have been here for 25 years watching, not only the worst Survivor seasons, but some of the worst reality TV seasons that you could imagine. So like, this is not the horrible experience for me. It's fine.
Yeah. Come at us when you like, we were in the trenches with Opposite Worlds watching that live. So until Survivor and podcasting about it, right? Yeah. As for me, get a couple new videos out on the main channel this week. One about Black Ops 7, not particularly being received well, and one about Tom McKay, the lead actor for Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, getting snubbed by the Game Awards. That one I was very passionate about. Had to support my boy there. Other than that, LRG community, Squid Game The Challenge, they're doing a fan vote for someone to play again. Vote for Player 100 Mark. He's got a lot of mutual friends with Ben and I, so like I feel like that'd be cool. And by all accounts, he's an incredibly nice guy. So for the 3 people still watching at this point, go vote for Player 100 to play on Squid Game, the challenge season 3. And other than that, check out all of our channels, and we will see you in the next one.